Hey, so I am going to talk a little bit about the Gatorship retreat that I attended. Going into the Gatorship retreat, I was really nervous. I kind of had a lot of anxiety about going before. Executive board members and Bree, they didn't really tell us a lot about what was going to happen at the retreat just because they didn't really know themselves because it was completely run by Gatorship, which now getting to experience that was such an honor and a privilege. And I'm so glad that we had the Gatorship retreat. And I really think that it should be something that we do every year and should be open to all members of the organization because I think it had such an impact on my experience as a Florida sister and that I wish everyone could get to experience that. But I definitely, going through that, I was glad those nerves were sort of met with such a great experience. Something that really spoke to me was the fishbowl activity that we did. The fishbowl activity was where certain identities would go in. It was broken up mainly by race or cultural identity. I thought even listening to what everyone said, of course, was so incredible to hear their perspectives. But I think just the numbers alone, as the fishbowls got either bigger or smaller based on the cultural identity group, was just such a great way to look at our representation as an organization. I think that it's important to know that we kind of recognize that lack of representation or that overrepresentation. I think that speaks a lot of who we are as a membership, not just as who we are as individuals, because everyone should sort of feel that they can be a Florida Sisterhood. I think that was also something that came up throughout the retreat, is that, you know, I feel like the Gatorship staff really helped us realize that we are a pretty facey organization here on campus and that people need to recognize that they can be us if they want to, regardless of who they identify as or what they identify as. Additionally, something that was really interesting that we learned at the retreat was the sort of differences between servant leader, like the pyramid. So instead of having like one leader at the top and all the sort of like regular general body members at the bottom, sort of the opposite, where the general body has most of the say and then it gets smaller as it goes to, let's say, the executive board or the president and so on and so forth. So that was something that I thought was really interesting because I had never looked at it in that way. But I really think that it was a great way to get to know our new member class. Even Justin jumped in the circle. Kirby jumped into one of the circles too. And I got to learn a little bit more about them and their experience here at the university that I would normally not get to know about them if I hadn't attended the retreat or if I just haven't had the chance to talk to them about it, which was truly, and I know I use this word a little bit, but I truly do mean that it was a privilege to get to hear their experiences and how different their experiences are from my own, and how something that we learned was to respect everyone's experience, even though it might not be similar to your own, because everyone's experience is valid. But I think it was a great way, I think that our new member class is really close, and, we hang out a lot outside of just meetings and things like that. We do movie nights at Abby's house, and, we go grab food with each other when we can or study in the library, but we'll never get to have that same connection that we had at the Gatorship retreat, where it was just completely, everyone was so vulnerable and so open to sharing how they felt, which normally we wouldn't be that open and we wouldn't want to be that vulnerable to share all that information about ourselves. But having such a space that where we could be comfortable with whatever we wanted to say and that no one would judge or make any remarks or would just be there for you to support you however you felt. Something that we also learned in the Gatorship retreat is sort of the true meaning behind inclusivity. As Florida Sisterhoods, we push the fact that we try to be as inclusive as possible, excuse me. And I think that through the Gatorship retreat, we got to learn even more what it means to be inclusive. Towards the end, we got to talk a little bit more about how we can become more inclusive, and something that I really think that we should do, and I know a lot of the other members agree with this, was to have one route instead of the normal route that we have, which is like the Rights Union, and then Marston, or like the Stadium, and then Triple F, and then we have the ADA route. Opposed to having two separate ones, we would just have one route because there's no reason to truly have another route. And I think that we learned that this would just be another way that we can make things as inclusive as possible.